we are going to be listening to Professor Rachael Akinola. She's a well-seasoned radiologist and a researcher, and she's done so many imaging, and she's particularly interested in imaging that has to do with women and the breast. Currently, she's a co-investigator in the assessment of the use of artificial intelligence in mammogram. And she's doing this together with the faculty at the University College Hospital, Ibadan. Perhaps before they got sponsorship or the grant for this investigation, they had to write concept notes or letters of intent. She will tell us more. Mommy, ma, Professor Akiala, you have the floor. You're welcome, ma.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank the management for inviting me, and I'm glad to be here. Can I share my slides, please? Okay.
Please go ahead, ma.
Right. So today I'm going to be talking about concept notes and letters of intent. And the learning objectives here will be that I'll be defining what a concept note is, what a letter of intent is, the purpose of a concept note or a letter of intent, what are the types of concept notes that we have, and what is the step-by-step process by which we write these documents. At the end of it, I hope it will help us sharpen our ability to craft compelling and successful concept notes or letters of intent. So by definition, what is a concept note? It is an impactful brief outline of a project proposal, usually submitted to potential stakeholders and funders to solicit their support. You can see that I've said a brief outline. So it's like an abridged project proposal. Usually is requested before a full project proposal is submitted, and the requesting organization needs funding and support from donors to make this project a success. It outlines the basic details of the project to attract potential donors, and therefore this will be a first impression of whoever is writing the concept note. The sharper the concept note is, the more you attract donors. When do we use concept notes? We use it before a full project proposal is submitted. It's used to introduce a new project to an organization or funder or community, and it is used as a tool for internal planning and decision making. So it should be well crafted. What is the importance and the use of a concept note? It's usually a brief overview of the project. So it allows the organizations tailor their proposal to the interest of their donor. It helps to identify potential stakeholders and funders, and it is used to filter out those who are not interested in the project. It helps also to gauge interest and support, especially when funders are multiple, and one can then focus on only those who are interested. So concept notes should be effectively communicating one's ideas of the project. So what are the key components of a concept note? Writing a concise and comprehensive document that communicates the essence of the project. First, you would have to write an introduction of how and where the applicant's mission would meet or intersect or align with the funder's mission. There should be a purpose, the need, and the rationale for the concept note, and the project description functioning as a solution to the problem, the answer to the need, or the investigation that will fill the knowledge gap. A concept note will also contain the budget, just like a proposal, but you don't blow it out too much in this concept note because concept notes are usually short, abridged forms of proposal. So a supporting budget to outline the main budget categories for the requested project, and then, or you write it as a single bottom line amount, and then describe or tell the funders how you would disburse these funds. A concept note also provides the contact information at the end of it. You should write your own information, how you will be reached after everything. I mean, if they're going to contact you. So there are two types of concept notes. There is the short concept note, and there is a long concept note. Usually, the short one is less than 2 pages. It serves as an executive summary of the project. So it should contain the project goals and objectives, the target group and beneficiaries, the activities to be implemented, the estimated budget, and the expected results. While the long concept note is usually from 2 to 4 pages, it is more detailed than the short one. They will include project justifications, methodology, work plan, the expected results, the budget, monitoring, how would you monitor and evaluate the plan, and what is the sustainability plan that you have for the project. So what are the key components of the concept note? First, when you want to write a concept note, you definitely have to research and plan. You have to conduct a research about the call for the proposal. Usually there's a call for a proposal or a concept note. You have to research into the funders, know what they want really, and the intended audience. Usually when they call for proposals, there's usually a guideline that is given. How you would write it, what type of fonts, details of how they want you to do it, and it must be followed strictly. You create a comprehensive outline to guide you through the writing process. Usually when you want to write a concept note, you already have a background proposal that you are planning, okay? There's usually a proposal. So this proposal is what you filter into a concept note. So you pick out the important parts or the ones that is in tandem with the guidelines of the funders. So you develop a proposal and you filter the proposal into a concept note. So what are the step-by-step guides for the concept note? First, there is a project title, which we learned last week. You must develop a research question. What is the title of your research? It must be clear and concise. It must capture the essence of the project in a few words. What are the objectives They must be clearly stated and contain succinct statements of what the project intends to achieve. They must be specific, they must be measurable, and they must be attainable. They must outline the essential elements of the project idea to potential funders. So everything must be succinct so that the funders will be, reading through it, a few lines of your concept note will give them an idea of what you want to do immediately, And then the background and the context must provide an overview of the problem that the project intends to address, with relevant details and statistics that will support your problem statement. It should highlight the relevance of the problem to the target audience and the broader community. It should identify stakeholders, target audience, and the beneficiaries in your project. Who are those that are going to benefit from it? What will the stakeholders gain? What are the target audience going to gain? All this must be stated, clearly identified, helped to ensure the project is designed to meet the needs of the intended beneficiaries. If I am going to investigate breast cancer patients, for instance, in the community, how do I expect to go about it? These breast cancer patients will be my target beneficiaries, and I must say what benefits will come to them after everything. The project activities and the methodology should describe specific steps that will be taken to achieve the project objectives. They should also provide details on how projects will be implemented and what will be your intervention strategy. What are the expected outcomes and the impacts? How would you know? Are they measurable? You must state how you would measure the success of your project. You must clearly state what project hopes to achieve and how it will contribute to the broader goals of the organization or the community. There must be monitoring and evaluation, like I said, which will outline how the project will be monitored and evaluated to determine its success. And then the budget, very important, budget and resources. You develop a realistic budget. Don't shortchange yourself. Don't overbloat the budget. Just develop a realistic budget that will cover all your step-by-step methods. You include even things as small as data that maybe the research assistant will be using. Very minute details must be included in the budget. You provide detailed breakdown of the costs associated with the project and the resources required to implement it. So let me just run through it fast again so that we get the gist. The step 1, research and preparation. Before starting, conduct thorough research on the problem you want to address, the target audience, and the available resources. This helps to develop a comprehensive understanding of the project and its requirements. Step 2, develop a clear project objective. This is the backbone of your concept note. It should be clear, concise, and specific. And a well-defined objective will help you to stay focused on the project and ensure that the project is designed to achieve the intended outcomes. Steps 3 and 4. Step 3 provides a strong background and context. The background and context section should provide a clear understanding of the problem the project intends to address and its relevance to the target audience and the broader community. It should demonstrate the importance of the project and why it is needed, or justification, why is it necessary. Then the step 4 is to identify your target audience and beneficiaries, clearly identify who the project is meant to benefit, provide details on how the project will improve the lives of the intended beneficiaries. Step 5, outline your project activities and methodology, provide detailed explanation of how the project will achieve its objectives, outline the specific steps that will be taken to implement the project and achieve the desired outcomes. And step 6, describe expected outcomes and impact. How would it impact the community? It will reduce, or it will help you diagnose breast cancer early, for instance, or it will reduce the number of breast cancer cases that we have in the community. Details of the expected results of the project and how they will contribute to the broader goal of the organization or the community to provide a clear understanding of the impact of the project is expected to have on the beneficiary. Step 7, develop a monitoring and evaluation plan. How do you expect to monitor it? How will you come to your conclusion? How will you achieve your progress, your success? The monitoring and evaluation plan should outline how will the project be monitored and evaluated to determine its success. It should include the indicators that will be used to measure the project's impact. Then prepare budgets and identify resources, provide a detailed breakdown of the costs, like I said, and include details on how the project will be funded. So, in writing all this, there are things that you should do, and there are things that you don't do. If you do what you are not supposed to do, then you will be putting the audience off. Those that will assess your concept note will be put off. And immediately, because they have a lot of notes to assess. So, it's like a process that is fast, and they don't want to waste time on things that you are not clear about. So, what are the things that you should do? You use clear and concise language. You give clear understanding of the funder's requirements. You would have read the guideline, and so you should follow the guidelines. That is very important. If you don't, that crashes that concept note immediately. You prioritize problem identification and solution methods. You customize, make it personal to yourself, that this is your project and you understand it very well. Customize and personalize it. Clearly demonstrate your team's capacity and the capability to implement the project. Give reasons why you can implement the project and do it in the recorded time. What are the things that you should not do? You should not submit your proposal after the deadline. That already is gone. Don't use jargon or technical terms. Don't undermine or overstate the significant problem, and submit a concept note without prior engagement with the potential partners and stakeholders. Do not do that. You should have met them or talked to them or read those guidelines very well. At the end of it, you read through your concept notes and you ask yourself, this content, is it compelling? It has to be compelling to attract those funders. What are the tips for writing a compelling concept note? Like I said, I've gone through some of them. Use clear and concise language, avoid jargon, highlight the uniqueness of your project, align project objectives with the potential funders' priorities. They must be in tandems. What the funders want is what you should do. Demonstrate a sound understanding of the problem. What are the common mistakes to avoid? To ensure it attracts the attention of the funders, avoid common mistakes like not being clear and precise. Make it clear and precise in its description of your project's methodology and budget, including irrelevant information. No, don't put any unnecessary or irrelevant information. This can complicate the narrative. It can make them misunderstand it, and it quenches that fire immediately. You reduce the clarity of your message when you do that. Failure to meet the requirements of the call. When there is a call, there are guidelines, like I said. So if you don't meet those requirements of the guidelines, it quenches the fire. Read and understand the funder's requirements. Avoid failing to follow the guidelines and requirements. This may disqualify your concept note. Important consideration. In writing a concept note, there are things that you should keep in mind. Use the appropriate formats. It will be in their guidelines. Appropriate formats based on the core requirements. Use a clear, concise, and professional format. Times Romans, for instance. Font 12, and so on. Time frame. Ensure submission before the deadline. Of course, you can't submit the projects late. That already has disqualified you. Provide sufficient time for reviewing, editing, and feedback. It is very, very crucial that once you've written it, let people read through it. Give your friends, let them read through it and tell you what they feel or where some things are not clear. Budget constraints. Ensure that the budget is feasible and within the funder's limitations. Editing and reviewing your concept note is crucial in ensuring that the concept note meets the required standard. Importance of editing. It helps improve the quality and the clarity of your concept note. Also ensures that all key points have been covered. Go through the peer review process. Request feedback from peers or colleagues that you have given them to. Make corrections where necessary. Incorporate feedbacks when they come, when they have read through it and they have told you where you should amend. If it's sensible to you, correct it. Submitting your concept note is the final step. And that is the final step in the writing process. You must not submit late. Submission guidelines. Strictly follow the submission guidelines given by the funders. Ensure the submission is on time. And that is not the end. Follow up whatever you have sent in. Make them know that you are interested in getting the funds or whatever. You must be proactive after submission and follow up with the funders. This shows that you are committed to getting the funds. That's as far as the concept note is. I'll briefly describe again the letter of intent. So what is a letter of intent? A letter of intent or a letter of inquiry gives us the opportunity to introduce one's proposed project to a funder and to elicit feedback that hopefully will lead to an invitation to submit a proposal. So it's like I'm asking for funding for my project, and you are hoping that you will be asked to submit a proposal. So this is also submitted before a proposal. What is the goal of an LOI? Is to convince an audience of your qualifications for financial support. The key to writing a strong statement is to understand what you should be demonstrating. What do you want to demonstrate? And how it connects to the evaluation process. So there must be a link between what the funders want and what your project is offering. It requires you to link the abstract qualities to your experience or your research, make implicit arguments why you are prepared for this task. How will you contribute to the organization that you are asking for help? Why do you stand out from other contestants? Why should you be given that fund? And consider these statements as functional documents presenting why you should get the money, acceptance, or the position. So there should be a link. The important thing here is that there is a funder and there is a requester, which is you, and there should be a link in their goals. So how do you do that? You must sell yourself. There must be personal statements, which demands at least a minimal knowledge of the field. What do you want to do? Am I grounded in that field? Do I know about it? I must have done some research in that field, either through coursework or through my experience or even through volunteer works. So a personal statements will demonstrate your desire and your preparations. It should demonstrate your written skills as well as the seriousness of your application. It should show that you are invested in that field and are aware of the new challenges ahead. Letters of intent present your research project, demonstrate your preparedness, and argue the significance of the academic field. It demonstrates your scholarly accomplishments or your new research. It needs to be accessible to a wide audience and explain the significance of your work. One should be able to answer these questions as posed by Ago and Bain in 2009. What have you done? Why should the committee care about you? And what will you do in the future? So a personal statement is supposed to eliminate you, show you off. Show what you can do. So personal statements, you think about your personal statement by creating an inventory of your own skills and experiences in the present, future, or the past. In the present, what do I know about myself? How am I ready? Where am I now? What am I currently doing? How does my current position prepare me for this project that I'm presenting? In the future, what will I do if I am sponsored? What will I add to the project? Where are these contributions to the program relevant to what the funders are asking? How are these involvements a continuation of my past experience? So you must have had some researches that you will reference, okay? The past, what experiences shape my present abilities? What experiences have I had? What is the significance of these experiences? All these issues should be within the letter of intent. It is one thing to say you can do something. It's another thing to show you can. The research topic must show its importance to the field of study. Don't just say it, explain it. So it's not just mentioning, it's that you will explain how you got to that state. Each claim you make about your ability and the significance of your project must be backed by a reason or an example. Don't assume that the reader will know why something is important. If it is important, you have to explain it. In a short document like a statement, you should focus on the quality of what you write and not the quantity. So not too much talk, no jargons, but quality talk. And it is not a place for narratives to avoid distracting the reader from the key parts of your statement. If you put in too much narrative, you will drown the important parts of your message. So your recent volunteer work could be applicable. Don't start with all previous works on your research topic to drown your research question. Cite only references that are crucial to your project. The structure of the statement should be tied to the argument. What makes your project different from previous works? A personal statement can address past hardships, what you went through while doing some things, but don't make it a gateway to, just make it to help you as a gateway to your own new goal. Don't leave the key information to the end because the reader might stop reading before it gets to that end. Be concise and get to the point. You are working on a particular question, but what will make you successful? What is your secret weapon? Is it a technology approach or theory that will distinguish your work from the others? Is there any results to support these claims? If there are results, you should put it. To demonstrate the importance of your research work, you may need to discuss previous research briefly. It should be framed in terms of questions. We have a habit of spending too much time on the background. You don't need it. Just say concise things. Your aim should always be clear and make sure that you have a reasonable plan that could be done in that time frame that you are given. Does your method or approach fit your questions? Always keep asking yourself, that way I'm going to do it. Does it fit the research question? You must read instructions. Must read instructions. Must read instructions. If you don't, it will show to the assessors or the audience. One of the best ways to figure out what you should be doing is to read the instructions. Failing to follow the instructions is one of the most common complaints of the committees that assess these letters. And by not following the guidelines for the application, you have just demonstrated to the committee that you lack attention to details. Which is what they want. So if you don't read the guidelines, of course you won't follow it, and they know that this one is not serious. Make sure you submit the statement in the right format, the appropriate length, and before the deadline. Don't be afraid of white paper. When I say white paper, is space, empty space. Okay? Don't be afraid of white paper. If your goals are clear, you will be able to put your goals down and your thoughts down very clearly, and you don't need a lot of tools for that. So there might be some white paper, but then if the white paper is too much, it's also a downside because it suggests that you probably haven't sufficiently developed your thoughts. So what is the key facts that the audience wants? What does the audience want? You should be able to get across your thoughts in 3 minutes. You need to present the key information to the readers at the beginning of the statement. Get them to be engaged so that they will continue to read. Do not assume that your audience is an expert in your field. They might not be in your field at all. But when your thoughts are clear and when they are concise and succinct, they would understand. You need to present your statement in a way that is understandable to all members of the committee. Being able to talk about your project and its significance to a wider audience is one of the skills one needs to demonstrate. So, checklist. Your letter of intent should pass the friend test. What is the friend test? Imagine that your friend is reading your statement. Will they be able to understand the general idea? Your friend, even if she's not in your field, will they be able to tell you why it will be important? Your statement should be able to pass this test, the friend test. And remember that one size does not fit all. Usually we say, I wrote one content letter for one breast project before. Let me just take that and amend it. It will show, no cut and paste. Putting together an application takes time. There's a tendency to create one application and slightly change it for each new application. This will undermine your argument. You are expected to demonstrate a familiarity with the program, but don't tell the sponsors of its own importance. Have specific evidence. What can you add to the organization? The readers will be able to tell when your application is a generic model. So you should be careful about cutting and pasting. Spend time demonstrating a strong engagement with funders' expectation. There is this craft of research article written in 2008, which suggests that this process for developing a research question. The topic. What is the topic I am studying? I am studying this. What is the problem I'm going to address in that topic? The purpose. Because I want to find out what, why, and how this is happening. And then why is it worthy for our attention? Then what is the problem? In order to help my reader understand, I should state the problem. What is my study expected to contribute to the problem? Is it going to solve the problem? Is it going to need more further studies and so on? So you must think about your research question and address it properly. You must understand how you are presenting yourself. It is important that you present yourself well. Be conscious of all possible ways a reader might interpret the information. Appleby and Appleby in 2006 described misinterpretations. If you are not clear with your project and you don't let them see what you really want to do, it might be cases of death. If they don't understand it, then, nobody will consider it. Unfocused research statements can present more questions than answers. Introducing a new idea without connection to your topic may give the impression that you have not thought out your project well. Saying there's lack of literature, be careful, in a field may suggest that you haven't properly researched into it. Be conscious of your writing style. It is important that you master that style. You can't do it in one day, or you can't do it by writing the first one. You might write 2, 3, 4 before you get used to it. So, construct a writing style constructed with positive assertions. Avoid negative statements. Avoid using not or never. Highlight your skills and not your weaknesses. Avoid the cheese factor, which demonstrates the importance of your project. Rather than just stating it, you must explain it. Okay? Better to state that you want to work with a group of people because of your experience with them. You must have worked with them before, rather than saying, I want to help them. You give details. Giving details will help you prove this. Writing is all about verbs. Okay? To present yourself as someone who is active in research or education, you need to focus on active verbs. Implicitly, these verbs will suggest that you are engaged. Avoid verbs like are. It helps you develop a confident voice that suggests you are aware of the obstacles in the future. By describing past accomplishments through the actions you took, verbs like achieved, analyzed, arranged, and so on, those are the good words that you should be using. They will know that you have done some things before. How do you check your write-up? You just have to read through it, revise it, Personal sentence is usually a way to judge the applicant's written communication. No matter how brilliant the content, all statements are judged by the quality of writing. Since we can't avoid it, let's embrace it. Full sentences, clearly constructed sentences are crucial for a reader to understand your claims. Read backwards, start from the back and read upwards, okay, to detect long statements, short or fragmented sentences. Word choice. Sometimes the words you want to use don't come straight away like that. Leave and come back. You might remember it later. Avoid words which do not add to the meaning of your sentence, like good, bad, very good, great, and so on. Remove redundant words. End result. When you have said end, why do you have to say result again? Particular interest, close proximity. When discussing skills, avoid these overused words: extensive, experience, innovative, motivated, and so on. Agreement and number. Do not make a mistake of not matching your verbs with your subjects. Voice. You can use I, but use the same voice too. Okay, don't use I mixed up with me and then us and so on. How do we detect errors in our write-up? It is important that you read all these things through and through. You start with the revision that will require the most rewriting. Look for one problem at a time. You first search for your most common errors. You can't find everything in one sweep. Read aloud. When you read aloud, sometimes you catch your mistakes. Look through the paragraph sentences and then clarity of the contents. Have someone read it aloud to you. There, when that person starts stammering or, thinking about what you have written, then there must be a mistake there. Above all, it is easier to see mistakes on printed paper than on computers. So have them print it out. What is our take home here? That the LOI or SOI, statement of intent, is a short, succinct, functional document that helps in selling yourself using an impactful writing skill and style to seek for funding for a research. Your goal must be in tandem with what the sponsors want. The personal statement must create an inventory of your skills and experiences, taking into consideration your present, past, and your future. You must read the instructions well, stick to the rules, review before submission, and submit on time. Master the writing style, use the right verbs. These are my references, and I thank you for inviting me.